Good afternoon. This is Mr. Evans. I am doing what I sometimes do in class. You know how I have showed you guys how to draw things. The difference is that this will be done by video, and as you go through and do your assignments, I will try to have a video for all the things I give you. That way, if you get stuck and you can't just raise your hand to have me come and help you, you'll be able to refer to the video where I demonstrate how to do the assignments, and then you'll be able to go back and do it yourselves. What I've done here is I have the textbook open, the same textbook that I've been sending you guys instructions on how to access, and I have opened it up to page 5-9, which is the assignment, the very first assignment that you guys are going to be doing. And I know some of you guys have done this already because you were ahead. Nothing I can do about that. If you were ahead and your drawings are at the school, there's no way to get to them, so you're just going to have to do it again. Don't feel bad. I've probably drawn this thing 5 or 6 times, so it won't hurt you to draw it again. You will turn it in. The assignment will be created in Google Classroom. You'll turn it in. You'll put mass properties just like you always have, and you'll get a grade. And then I will assign the next assignment. And the idea is for you guys to, work about an hour or so a week. We're not supposed to give you more than about half an hour a day for each assignment, and I will probably be a little bit lighter than that because I want you guys to have time for all your courses, and I know this is kind of crazy times that we're in right now. But anyhow, I am going to draw this, and obviously it gives you steps here in the books. It does tell you to try to do it yourself. Use the instructions on the following pages if needed. And I would say the same thing about my video. Use my video if needed. Obviously, you're still going to have to do it yourself, even if you look and see how I do it. And don't be concerned if you do it some way differently than what I do, because I'm not going to do it exactly the way it shows you in the book. We all have our ways. We all have the things that we become most comfortable with. And it really doesn't matter as long as we end up with the same thing in the end. So don't let that concern you if you have figured out a way that's slightly different, maybe even better than my way. I certainly use things that I'm more comfortable with that I think are better than what the book shows you sometimes. So, this will apply to all the drawings that I do for you guys. So I am going to go ahead and open up SolidWorks, and I'm going to start a new drawing here, and I'll just kind of talk my way through it as I draw it for you guys. Just remember that if you were drawing it and you watch this first and you can't remember something, you do have the ability to go back, to rewind, to fast forward, and so forth to find the help that you need. So I'm going to start a new drawing. It's going to be a part. The part is going to be, I can tell because of the 1.25s and 2.25s, all that, it's going to be imperial. And you can see by default, my SolidWorks is already set up for imperial pounds seconds. So if I open this up, you'll see it's inch pounds seconds. So it's imperial already. But it does tell me at the top of the book, it tells me that I should be 3 decimal places. And I know that by default, SolidWorks is 2 decimal places. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And it's good to do this first. If I just go right here to where it says Edit Document Units and click on that, you'll see that I do have 2 decimal places for length, 2 decimal places for angle, and for our mass properties, 2 decimal places. I like to have 3 decimal places in mass properties as well. So I will go 3 there, I'll go 3 there, and 3 there. And you'll see that as I start doing dimensions, that it will have 3 decimal places just like the book, and that'll help you out. I also like to have my screen in plain white mode. It's just clearer, and I think it makes it easier for you guys to see as well. So you don't have to do that, but I typically do. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start our drawing. We're going to start on the front plane, and I usually just go over here and click on the plane, and then I have the little icon there to sketch, and that will automatically put me in sketch mode on the front plane. I also know that my part that I'm drawing is going to be circular because it's a screwdriver, so I'm going to need a center line. I'm going to go ahead and pop a center line there. I'm going to make sure that my center line is that I have that little yellow horizontal constraint pop up there. That way I know I've drawn my line totally straight. I just double clicked to end that, and so now I have my center line drawn. So I'm going to start drawing the outline. Now I can go all the way up here and click line. That's one way to do it. I'm going to click right here. I'm going to come up a little bit. I'm going to draw the shank part of the screwdriver. I'm going to draw front part of the handle. I'm going to draw there, and then I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to pick up about right here. And I'm going to come to right here. I'm going to come down. You know, I'm going to actually going to come down about right there. And I want that to be vertical. And then I'm just going to trim this little extra that I have, and because I want to leave a little bit of that center line sticking out so I can choose it later on when we revolve this. Notice that I also left an opening there, and that's only because I know that I'm going to need to have an arc going down. And so I'm just going to go to my 3-point arc, and I'll click on this point, I'll click on this point, and then I'll come down about right here. Now I also am going to just right click and go to the left to get myself back in line command, and I'll start there and close this off at the bottom. Why? Because in SOLIDWORKS we need to have a totally enclosed loop. If you have a totally enclosed loop, it makes it a solid. You can revolve things without a totally enclosed loop, but if you do that, it makes it a surface model and not a solid model. And so what we want right now is a solid model, and we'll get into surface models later on. So now that I've got this drawn, it's all purple, I know it's totally enclosed, I'm going to go ahead and apply some dimensions. So rather than go all the way over here and click dimension, the little shortcut I've showed a lot of you is I'm going to right click and hold, move straight up, and you can see that puts me right into my dimension tool. And so I can click on that line, and it's right now 8.3 almost, and it's supposed to be 5.5. So I'm going to type in 5.5, hit enter, and so that is now the proper length. Let's get a couple. I know that the tip of my shank there is supposed to be 0.1, so I'll just click on this line right here, and I'll change that to 0.1. So now that is the right dimension. I also can see that the width of my handle is 0.325. So I can go from there to there, and I can go 0.325. And so that's all looking good. Notice that some of mine is turning black here. I also can see that from the very back to the very front of the handle is supposed to be 2.25, and so that's done. And that kind of messed things up a little bit there, didn't it? So the cool thing is I can hit escape. Since this is still blue, it can be moved. And so I can just take this and I can just move it right back over here again where I had it. And I can actually change this. So that's not a problem. So don't get excited if things get all kind of crazy like that. Now, everything is black except that arc. That arc does have a couple of things that we need to put. First off, we know that the center point of this arc is supposed to be at 1.85 from the end. So I'm going to go back into my dimension mode. I'm going to click right here and click right here, and it is supposed to be 1.85. So that's good. That is now placed. And also the radius of this arc is supposed to be 0.3. So that's done. And we also need to have this right here. You can notice this is still blue. So if you really can't figure out what you need, the way to do that is if I just kind of grab this center point and I can move it, if I can move it up and down, then I know I need a dimension there. So I'll go back to my dimension, and I'm going to go from dimension from here to here. And the book says that should be 0.45. Now, I am fully defined now, but you will notice that in the book, if you're looking at your book now when you're doing this, that this is supposed to be rounded off, and this is supposed to be rounded off, and this little tip here is supposed to be rounded off, and that's supposed to be rounded off. That is true, but remember that I said that I'm going to do this after the fact using fillets, fillet features. And so now I'm ready to revolve this. I'm fully defined, so I'm going to go to my features, and I'm going to go to revolve boss base, and it already recognizes that I have a center line there, so I didn't have to choose it. It says line 1, and it also assumes that I want to revolve 360 degrees, which I do. So I'm just going to go ahead and click my check, and now I've got the beginnings of that screwdriver. So let's go ahead and fix the things that I didn't do during the sketch, and I'll show you why I waited. First off, it says that right there and right there and right there, I should have a fillet of 0.050. So I'm going to fillet. I'm going to type in 0.050. That's my radius. And now I can click there, there, and there. And click OK. And you can see how easy that was compared to trying to deal with those sketches. So that's why I wait to do that. I also have, according to the book, I have a big fillet there of 0.25, so a 1/4 inch fillet there on that end. So I'll do the same thing. I'll go to my fillet command, and I'll change it to 0.25. And I'll click right here. Looks good. And now it's starting to look more like a screwdriver. Now, could you have drawn those arcs in the sketch mode? Yes, you could have. They're just a little bit harder, a little bit easier to mess up. And so do it the way you want. I choose to wait and do it to the feature as opposed to try to do it in the sketch mode. All right, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw the tip of the screwdriver. So I want to go ahead and, get this where I'm looking like this. I think I'm going to choose a plane. I'm going to choose, look how that I got my top plane. I could do it there, but I want this thing. Let's see how I want it to look, because the only thing that really matters is how I want it to look in the end. Looks to me like they want to have it where the sides of the flat. So I'm going to use this top plane, and I'm going to start a sketch there. No, I'm not. I am exit that sketch, and I'm going to start that sketch on the front plane. I almost made a mistake. I hit my space bar, go to normal 2, and since I know that I'm going to draw a wedge shape that's going to make that look like a screwdriver and it's going to be symmetrical, I don't know what it says in the book, but this is the way I'm going to do it. I'm going to draw a center line right down the center. And not only that, tried to double click, but that didn't work. So let's do it that way. Let's get rid of that. I am going to go to my search commands and type in DYN. I'm looking for the dynamic mirror. And once I choose dynamic mirror, I'm going to choose a sketch line. And now that's set up for dynamic mirror. So all I have to do now is go to my line command. And I know that this line is going to start not right there on the center point, but somewhere about right there. So I'm going to go up right there. I'm going to draw about up to right there and make it coincident with that line. I'm going to come back to right here and go back to right here. And you can see that that automatically do the one down there for me. That's what Dynamic Mirror does. So all I have to do now is see what the dimension should be. And it looks to me like at the very tip it's supposed to be 0.025. So if I go to dimension and I click on that point to that point, it should be 0.025. Got that done. The only other dimension I have is that from here to here should be 7 degrees. Now notice that when I made that 7 degrees, because I already had, now I made sure that when I drew this that I had a coincident mate right there and a coincident mate right there. It had them, it put those in there automatically. If for some reason you do it and those aren't there, then it will not happen automatically. But right now I am fully defined, and all I had to do was draw one triangle, put it in two dimensions, and we're good to go. So now I'm going to go to Features, I'm going to go to Extrude Cut, and I want to go through all both ways. Because see, my sketch plane's in the middle, so I want to go through all both ways. And since I've gone through all both ways and I'm doing an extrude cut, I just click check, and there it is. I've got the tip of my screwdriver already done. So there it is. So let's see what we have next. You've got the tip. They want us to square off the handle, and so to square off the handle, they just want us to go ahead and make a sketch plane. Right, this little flat part right there. Just make a sketch plane there. So I click there, and I start a new sketch, and I can go click with my space bar and normal to, and then it just says add some rectangles. So if I add a rectangle here, and I add a rectangle here, it says to add a center line, and I am kind of doing what the book says right now. It says add a center line here, and it says to add a center line here. Whoops. All right, let's get back normal to. I accidentally drug that, so I'm going to go back normal to. Okay, so let's see what it says. It says that let's go into dimension, that from here to here should be 0.275. Okay, we got that done. And then it says that from here to here should be 0.275. We got that done. And it says that well, what it says is once we get this done is that we should go to, now notice that we have this line here a certain distance from the center, and we have this one, and they're both 0.275. And so does it really matter if this is too long? I need to get out of dimension mode. I mean, this could be shorter or longer. It really doesn't matter as long as it's going to cut that. Same thing down here. Same thing over here. Same thing over here. So if we're going to go, we can just go right here to Mirror Entities. And if I were to go to entities to mirror, and it automatically selected that one, so I'm going to clear that selections. And I'm going to mirror this, hold down control, this, this, and this. And I am then going to choose this line here to mirror about. And so it does that. So it puts a box over there automatically. It does tell me to give this a dimension. So I give this a dimension of 0.5. Notice that when I did 0.5 there, it automatically made it 0.5 there. And this really should be centered. So if I just go click, get out of dimension mode, click here, and click here, and use symmetric, it moves that exactly up there the way it should be. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go back to mirror, and I'm going to select that, hold down control, select that, hold that, and select that, and select that. So we've got our entities, mirror about this center line right here. We got that done, and we're good to go. I mean, I could, if I really wanted this to be the same, I could go click and hold down this right here that's dimensioned and make it equal. And then I could go ahead and go click, hold down, click, and make this symmetrical. I think I had something else held down, so I'll do that again. Now I get the symmetrical. So we're good. And we got that. Now, in this case, because it really doesn't matter what these are doing, it doesn't really matter that it's underdefined. As long as these lines right here that are doing the cutting are black, we're good. We're defined enough. So here's a rare case where it really doesn't matter if you are underdefined. I mean, I literally could stretch these out more, but you can see that if I stretch these out and in and out and in, as long as I don't come in too close, it's not going to change what's going to be cut off at all. So I'm just going to go to extrude cut, and the book says that we should choose up to surface, and that this is the surface that we should choose right here. And I click OK, and there we are. That's all done. Now it says that we should add some fillets. There's some 0.05 fillets. Let's see. Let's make sure that I haven't skipped any fillets anywhere. Sometimes I jump ahead without looking. Nope. Haven't skipped any fillets there. And so it just says add the 0.050 fillets. So I'm going to go to fillet. I'm going to type in 0.050. And because I have tangent propagation checked here, instead of having to check and click all these edges, I can click this surface right here and watch what happens. It chooses all of those. And then if I choose this surface right here, it automatically chooses all of those. So that saved me a lot of time clicking a whole bunch of edges. So those fillets are now all done. The only thing I need to do is add the materials, right click, and I'm going to tell you guys, let's just go to edit material, and we'll keep using that 1020 steel, and we have that. And so now we can go to evaluate, we can go to our mass properties, and there is your answer, 0.181 pounds, 3 decimal places. And again, as long as you're within about 1%, I'm not going to mark off for that, because sometimes the order in which you do fillets and things like that can change it a little bit. But this is what you'll actually do a PDF of and turn in when you're done with this. So there you have it. I have modeled for you how to do this particular assignment. If you have any troubles, if you can't figure it out even after watching this video, then feel free to email me and maybe do a screenshot of where you're having trouble, and we'll try to figure out what's going on. But I'm really hoping these videos will give you everything you need to get this thing done right. You guys have a good one. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.